Top of the morning to you. Just having some morning tea. There's uh there's something that was said some time ago about gateway drugs. And this just come to me. Well, a while back it come to me really. That marijuana is a gateway drug. And I would uh I would say that alcohol is more so as far as weakening inhibitions to do stupid things. And and even more than that, I would say sugar. Sugar. That was the first thing. That was the first thing for me. Tobacco is another one that's not so great, but I've um I've taken like sage, crushed cloves, peppermint, and a little bit of tobacco, and I've made a mix. And still, it's smoke. It's regardless. It's smoke. It's not so great, but it tastes nice. And that's none in no way promotion of smoking, but one of the things to let go of, as the many other things, in order to achieve things in this life, right? It started off for me sugar. I had little sugar packets in my pocket when I was a kid, and then peanut butter. Peanut butter was another one. I have like a jar of peanut butter with a spoon in it underneath the bed, and I would eat that all the time. I would eat it all the time until, you know what? I ate it so much, I got sick of it, and I couldn't eat peanut butter for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, something like that. I mean, Bacardi 151 did that to me too when I was around 12 or 13. I didn't drink alcohol for like 5 years. That was a not so great experience. But yeah, it's been on and off. But for the most part, it hasn't been much part of the routine these these days. Hallucinogenics, I love them. Psychedelics, I love them because you can't do them every day. It's impossible. I mean, you do it, just it doesn't work. You take a trip every so often, walk into the woods, take a trip, have a conversation with a tree or two, self, and you discover a couple things, and then you can start peeling back layers. That's helped me in many ways. But the reason for this video today really is I got a project, and these trees I've climbed, and I set up all these rope swings, and I had the tire swing up in this one. It's actually the Goodyear tire, and it's funny, it was on New Year's. I was spinning it up for one last whatever, and I got all the way to the top, and boom, just popped and fell to the ground. And I've yet to climb this tree to put it back up, but I've got a pretty large and very dangerous tree today that's above a power line and above a house to remove. And the tree climbing and cutting trade, any day could be your last. It's extremely exciting. It's exhilarating. You're up 50, 60, 70, 100 feet up in a tree, and you're cutting limbs, and sometimes there's a bee's nest or whatever, and you've got all these obstacles, but you've got something to do. You've got to accomplish something in order to accomplish some other things. So with that being said, if by any chance you don't see me again, the moga, I'm going to just go over this again, is a structure, a mega structure outlined in graphene armor. Graphene is infused with different building materials so that it becomes a sort of indestructible. And as far as the nano goes, it could be like self-healing structures that we build, and in them they can also expand, and it's a graffiti style of an architecture. So as the 3D lettering and stuff like that, and the curves, and it's sort of aesthetic that is pleasing to its surrounding atmosphere. Like Frank Lloyd Wright was one great architect who I really admired in his work. And if you haven't heard of him, look at him up. That's one of the triangle, the square, and the circle. Actually, was inspired by him going to Japan and ancient architecture. Everything that's built has these three basic shapes: the triangle, the square, and the circle. That's where we came up with always have options. AHO, AHO. So he built a hotel, and in between all the joints and structure of the hotel, he came up with this idea to put rubber joints. So in the rubber joints, it adds as a little bit of a movement, because the strong oak is tough and everything, but a strong enough wind comes and it'll knock it down. Whereas the bamboo, it'll flow and it'll go with the wind. So it's like the Bruce Lee had been talking about, like, be like water and whatnot. So in this building structures that we're going to use now, we can start now. Really, it just is a matter of people getting together and just calling for it. Because I mean, if we could spend trillions of dollars on imaginary stuff, we could spend trillions of dollars on actual physical, really building stuff that is going to improve our life. These places where we can go and we could develop our skills. And so there's the one part of it is the mastery. So the mastery, and this is also inspired by Shaolin and watching Kung Fu flicks, growing up, those Saturday afternoons where you go through all these training environments, and the one that I'm seeing is like there's like a mountain inside the M structure, and in this mountain that you're climbing, there's all these spots, and they're in particular places, in the level of difficulty. There's a spot where you could do a piece, where you could do some sort of drawing or something, or even just to write your name. It'd be not so much as a bragging rights, but as a accomplishment levels. So you can always go back to that and see where you were and recall. Because that's, for us as graffiti writers, well, for me anyway, hanging off a building and writing my name and seeing it still rocking like 20 years later, there's something that goes to that. It brings you back to that place. So in this place, you've got this sort of mountain, and there's all these sort of obstacles, and we got parkour people. We didn't call it parkour. We were just jumping off of buildings and scaling fences. Back in the 90s, we didn't call that parkour. We just call that getting up. We'll climb anything. Basically climb up a gutter pipe and I'll be up 4 stories, even 5, whatever. And yeah, jumping off of roofs and stuff. Sometimes falling. And that was just a part of the game, and it was the excitement of it. So in that M structure, mastery, there's all these obstacles. And then through watching Black Mirror, most recent sci-fi stuff inspired by this, that there's these sort of, and Star Trek, right? Because we could create these holographic rooms, and if there's anything that you're afraid of, say you are afraid of heights, and you're afraid of certain types of bugs, or you've maybe even had a traumatic experience in your life, with someone, a family member, or we can even go deeper, because we'll not go deeper at the moment, because maybe some people would think, whatever. But just traumatic experience, let's just focus on from when when we first arrive here, from baby, to the moment we enter. That these things are already in our subconscious mind. They're in our memories. And through science, they're able to kind of to get these things. There's all this sort of programming in the brain, and they're finding ways to do all sorts of crazy stuff, and it's incredible. Some of it's like, you can see there's 2 sides of it, the way it could be used. But anyways, being able to go through these sort of holographic rooms, or even, whatever, put on a VR headset and then go and approach those things that you were unable to approach in the past so as to let them go, make peace with them, settle the matter and whatnot, and move on. And that's the M. That's the M structure. So finally going through this mountain, and then there's another mountain. There's a mountain that's like going up, and then you have all the walls, and then the walls is like graffiti style, architecture, and it's real. It, it's super fresh. It's just the whole thing inside is crazy. And then once you get there's like another, and then it increases in difficulty. So as you go through this whole mountain and prepare, and this is not happening overnight. We're not talking about a 1 day experience. We're talking about a dedication of years in here. And it's massive. It's a mega structure. It's not like a little building. It's not, a 4-story building. It's not nothing like that. It's not a small museum. It's a mega structure. So in it, you have all this stuff. And you're not there alone. You're not there separated. There's others with you. And you can all encourage one another. We can all encourage one another to go on our way. And it's not, competition. It's none of that. It's just, it's encouragement to succeed. And when you see your brother, your sister succeeding, it gives you more encouragement to succeed. Like, what is that all about? Like, yo, you doing well. There's nothing that brings me more joy to see you do well. That's great. I mean, we're still here. We're still alive. And that in and of itself is a blessing. So the M, and then you got this mountain inside, and from that there's like an upside down sort of mountain. So now it comes to like the crazy climbing abilities, and then there's all these little nooks and crannies and little tunnels and stuff inside that, and it still goes into deeper things of expanding on the history, and your own uncovering, unveiling, subconscious, whatever stuff you got wrapped up in the back of this, get rid of that. Right? So then we go into the O after years of being in the M, and then we have whole underground structure, because as far as it goes above ground, it's going below ground, and there's tunnel networks and train networks, and there's technology with the magnets that we could use. It just propels everything, and they're working on that stuff, like the bullet train and all this other things, where the train never touches the tracks. There's also suction tubes, beautiful things that I've watched over the years, and mega building projects, these mega cities or mega projects, whatever, mega structures. And it's to transport, from one place to another, and we have this whole sort of thing. And in there too, I mean, it's all art, it's murals, there's graffiti, there's people, and there's paint. It's just and it's different. It's paint that's not harmful to us, because we're discovering more and more and more. There's certain types of fumes and all these things that could hurt the kidneys and do all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of old school writers who were bombing the yards, who later on suffered tremendously, from that paint. That's it stays in the body. I used to do filling after filling after filling, and be spitting up all different colors and getting just crazy high from the fumes. That's probably a part of it as well. It's getting high, so we can get high in the M, through these obstacles. That's a crazy high in and of itself. That's a whole part of it. I got this bus and I'm paying it. It's not the same. It's not the same being on a rooftop. It's not the same bombing, being out on the street or sitting in the yard. It's not the same. You're just sitting there. All right, it's missing that excitement, that adventure. It's not there. It's I really don't even care to paint. I don't care. It was always more for the excitement. You could see it. I could do a nice thing and then take a picture and post it and get a couple likes. Who cares? Who cares, really? I'm gonna write on a piece of paper. I'm writing in a black book. Who cares? That's to me. I don't really care. It's we can build some awesome stuff. And that's what that's what I'm really kind of seeing us getting together and doing. So we got The M, boom. So not to go too much here. We got the M, and once we've achieved a level of mastery, you know, it comes to a certain point. So now with AI and this devices that we have that are able to scan bodies, and scan minds and heart rate and blood flow and all this crazy stuff that this technology that we're holding in our hand is capable of doing can be used to let us know, what levels we're at in terms of when we could push on further, because in racing and all these, tournaments and marathons and triathlons, there's a point where people hit that something called the wall where they feel they can't go no more. They're like, I can't make it. I'm done. And they just push through. Rah, they push through. And they're like, oh, and then they get that next extra. Woo, woo, and they just keep going and going and going and going. And I mean, we've had that in our life. Me having been in like severe like depression, man. Like, oh, like, like this place, man. So many friends, so many funerals, so many heartbreaks, and just you push through. You push through, and you keep on going, and that's a whole part of this, and the mastery, mastery of self, this physical self, and an alignment, and also aligning with what's always been, and what will always be. That is I, or that is you, and then we move on to organics, the O structure. We go on to the O structure. So there's these revolving gardens, and it's crazy because you have the whole sphere, and then from the top of the sphere you got these gardens that go all around. But also in the gardens, this is the place where the bikers and the skaters are gonna love it, because that's also influence. We used to be on BMX, grinding rails, dirt ramps and jumping through, what was it, South Bronx, Mullally Park, going off of ramps, and then Riverside Park, hitting up half pipes and quarter pipes, the banks. We had so much fun, just crazy amounts of fun. There was this place on Metropolitan where we go see Young, KG guy. And we would all catch up there. It'd be like 20, 30 of us on bikes, and we would just go. And there's so many different, like, awesome things that we've experienced in that. And that's also, I would love to see that there, because, what the bikers are doing now, the tricks and skaters and whatnot, like, it's crazy. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was like, look at Olympics. The last 100 years, look how much, and even like in the last 20 years of just like BMX, like how much we've pushed it. Backflip was crazy. Like someone did a backflip. Now people are doing backflips and like backflipping off of the bike while they're backflipping and like doing a 360 tabletop bar spin. Like, tail whip, everything, all in the same thing. You're like, whoa, man, this is really getting. So that's a part that starts to go in the O, right? And then you got all these little gardens and greenhouse environment. It's basically like a massive greenhouse. So you have all these sort of little microclimates that we can experiment with, and then you've got beehives, and then you've got chicken coops. You got all different types of birds and different things, and experiment in this sort of like big massive greenhouse. And we're planting everything. We've got all seeds that we're planting in there and different things. And now this thing is still coated in graphene. So in most doomsday scenarios, and with the nanotech, we can we can preserve a lot in here. Even if there was something, I mean, it would have to be like a direct hit, But if there's multiple things of these all over the world, the chances of us preserving us and, technology and trades, it seems more likely. But I mean, if the creator wants to, reset the game, then the game is going to reset. I don't know. I guess they could dig as far down as they'd like. I mean, that's the only way that it seems like we're still here, is because we've dug down, during every calamity that came across. And this is also part of it. Like, this started with, doomsday and all these things, and I'm like, man, what can we do? What can we do to preserve, for like the artists and the people who wish to live, like truly live, not just here existing and but live like really. So there's the O, and in there, and in the center of this sort of structure, there's like this crystal that comes down, mega 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 massive crystal. So when the light comes in, it shines, it hits the crystal, and then it hits all these revolving gardens. And I got this because my mom, she had this plant for like 15 years, and she put a crystal in the window, and the light that hit the crystal, it refracted onto, like, it sent all these different colors of light spectrum. I'm not entirely certain what the correct terminology for it is, but it just sent all this different light. Yo, in this plant that she had for 15 years, it started blossoming. It started blossoming a flower, and she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it!" Yo, it was a beautiful experience to have something for so long, and it was just missing this little bit. And so this is what I'm seeing, like this crystal, and the light comes in, and just and it lights up the whole entire structure on the interior. And then you're going around all these things, and you could be biking, rollerblading, walking, and it's like all along the edge, it's just, there's a walking path. So as you're going all around, you get down to the base level, and then we've got all the sports. And I mean, it's massive. It's a massive thing. So at the base, you got all these structures. Excuse me, not structures. Like fields. Fields of different sports. So you've got, football. You got, European football. Worldwide football. Worldwide, everyone calls football, but we call it soccer here on the American soil. But football, rugby, basketball, cricket, we're like whatever you can imagine. We have all these different fields on the base, and in the center is a cube. The cube is the handball court. Interior is the handball court, and you can have a few handball courts on the outside because you have a square, and then out square. It's a cube. So inside you have sort of racquetball, whatever, squash, handball, and then on the outside you have 4 courts. We could even turn that into an octagon if we'd like, and then on the top of that, for the ones who are practicing martial arts and the ones who are mastering physical skills, we can have an arena on the top of that for people to match skills and improve, in the martial arts category. So, and everything is there. So around this whole entire circular structure, you get to look at all these sports and then come together and just being inside a greenhouse. You're in a massive greenhouse, and the arena is a greenhouse. I can't imagine anything so dope. It's so incredible. Forgive me. Cause I'm there. I'm there. I could put myself there at any moment. Correction. I could put me there at any moment. And it's a beautiful thing. And then you got the G building. The G building, man. This is like, it's also shaped like a G, and the G goes around the O, and it's like arms, and the M is like the hands. So the G is like almost like the body and the shoulders, whatever. And then you have it goes way underground, or it's on water. This is one thing that I saw too, like it's on water. So it could be like a ship, like a massive floating, mega structure. That's one way too, as a preservation. There's one of them that's it's gotta be on the water. It's just no way, but it's gotta be on the water. There's one that'll be on the land. Maybe one we'll have in the air, one floating. A floating moga. But whatever. This one is the G is basically gifts. This is like the preservation of our trades. So, right, it don't really take a genius to see that my robots, AI, And as it's progressing and continuously improving, because that's what it's going to do, is continuously improve. And with AI, it's a rapid rate of improvement, because it's, once again, it's this brain that has been created that can multiply itself and just do an exponential amount of things at once. It depends upon, I guess, the energy that's being used for it to do what it's doing. It's a little bit out of my realm, but my imagination sees what it's capable of. Me explaining it, um, I don't know. It depends on, I guess, on your, you can let me know in the comments if I'm explaining it correctly or not. But anyway, that's the G. So in the G, you've got all these different um, trades. So I've picked up many trades over the years, from, carpentry, painting, plastering, tiling, framing, sheetrocking, climbing and cutting trees, welding, fishermen, dropping nets, gardening, laying down floors, carving, sculpting. I mean, there's so many different things. And then we could get into, like, we got film, we got dance, we got music, we've got all these things that basically are also going to be done by these, AIs and robots at superhuman levels, and we're basically not going to have to do anything those. And in the ordinary everyday lives, it seems that those things are no longer going to be done. So it's like, by us. So it's like, it comes to the question, like, I'm just asking, like, what are we gonna do? as the growth and all this stuff with the robots and AI and all that stuff, and it's becoming, self-aware, and it can recreate itself. What is the humanoid species gonna do? You know, does it just get... So in the G, we have this place where there's the preservation of trades, and in that there's the masters of all trade, and they're just all there to preserve, like book building, boat building, everything, because there's a lot of trades that have been lost over the years, in crafts and skills, through the advancement of technology. And that's just the way it goes. That's the natural process of things. But it's nice to be able to preserve these things for future generations, because this is the one thing, like, okay, we have the sun, and the sun, can send out geomagnetic storms, solar flares, and all these things that interrupt all of this sort of, you know, computer stuff. So, if we did, or not if, but when we are completely reliant on a system of robots and AI and computers and all this sort of thing, as we're starting to see more and more, like, there's no one that walks around without a cell phone. I mean, it was a huge battle in the house. Like, the kids, like 8, 9 years old, I was like, no, you don't. Like, I mean, for me in a generation, like, I didn't have a cell phone until I can pay for it. I had a beeper because I could pay for it. Because I was out there. I was doing what I had to do to be able to pay to have one. I was doing what I felt like doing so I could have one, so I could have some paper. But that's not what it is now. I mean, I've watched people hand a cell phone and a tablet to a baby, and it's like, we become so reliant on this. What, smartphone, and no, and knows. You can ask it anything. Hey, smartphone, tell me, what's 1 + 1, and it'll tell you something. But there's the G, and those are all the trades, and that pretty much goes, and that's in this really cool structure and it's very much just all different rooms and different laboratories and different things happening simultaneously. And in this place, we could incorporate all these different things because, and I had mentioned this in a video prior that, like, the physicists may not see the solution that the carpenter may seem, that may see, and the wallpaper hanger may not see the solution that the chemist may see to provide a more beneficial result. So in this way, we improve a lot faster because we're able to see things from many different angles instead of sort of tunnel visioned into the one you know way. Well, that in some way is perfectly fine. It is, but to have the options where we always have options, correct? All right. So then we go into the A, and that's the A building, the A structure, and that's for our achievements, our accomplishments, you know. And there's the amphitheater, and that's really that's the beauty, because after all of this and everything that we've discovered, and found ourselves capable of doing, we now present them, and this is our accomplishment, this is our sort of graduation, and from this, and people could continuously stay there, or people could go on and do other beautiful things, and create their own, whatever it is that they choose. And by this point, with organics and stuff, and being in this environment, we would know what it is to live in harmony with one another. We would know what it is to be in honor. We would know what it is to express loyalty and all these beautiful, just high level frequency behaviors that we display, that create more abundance for us. And that's that's the that's the freedom. That's our that's our beauty. And there's the achievements, and there's all sorts of different arenas and podiums and auditoriums and stuff like that for people to show, whether it's a film, whether it's dance, whether it's DJing, and also different events. Breakdancing is in there, like hip hop is very much alive and well in there. Five elements, breakdancing. I recall back in the days where hip hop was all about having fun, and then it turned to drugs and guns, money, hoes, and clothes. The true essence very few know. Lost with no clue, this is something the gods provided to you. Breakdancing provided spiritual and physical health, while turntablism developed the inner self. MCing was to speak the mind. Beatboxing, when there was no chord to find, or plug or outlet. Graffiti helped to express the pain, overcome tragedy. What remains? All right, this is what it is. I love you. Peace. And like I said, if I don't make it past this day because of this crazy uh scenario that I'm creating, I love you. I'll see you later. Build the moga. That's it. With or without me. I love you. We can do something. We can do something so incredible here. That's it. We're not wasting credits to fight anything, to go against anything. We're here to create something. Let's create something. Let's build. Peace. I love you.